Welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty.
Hi, and welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast. My name's Jody, and today our special guest is Dr. Bob Beare, whom I met on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it nowadays. Dr. Bob, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your time.
Thanks so much. Good to be here. Who would have thought that we'd meet people of depth on the twit?
I know, right?
Twitter.
I know, it's so crazy. I was really late to social media, actually. I didn't start till 2016 because I was one of those, you can't make real friends on Twitter. That's a ridiculous idea on social media. And now I have like most of the good friends and good people that I've met have all been through social media.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The learning that I've had has been immense, but one of them is the way that the algorithm works, at least in the X world, is if I'm talking about deep healing stuff on a regular basis and I don't click on the superficial shit, I am going to develop a circle of healing people. And that's what's happened for me. It's the same dynamic in our lives, though, isn't it?
Yes.
If I connect with chaos, I'm going to get more chaos.
Yes, absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know, you help people, you've written a book. I mean,
Yeah. So, where to begin with that one? This moment, I guess. I'll start with this moment, which is my daughter's 22 and she just went off to her last semester of college, which is an internship in Los Angeles, and she plans to stay there.
okay.
So I'm having maybe the last phase of the empty nest.
Oh my goodness.
I have had something that smells, looks, and vibrates like this thing they refer to as depression. Are you familiar with this phrase?
Oh,
This thing
yeah,
that the psychiatrists love to label unhealed abandonment trauma. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yes. Yes, I've lived that for many years.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm talking to somebody that understands, but and I make a joke about some of this, but I have been dragging around a bag of, oh my God, it's we had the last summer together, and she's just a superstar. She's become an adult pal. We talk about movies and depth and healing, and so it's I've been joking with the concept of I better get a life. So, and I do have a life. It's pretty diverse, and like you, Jody, I have taken my healing and just made it a lifestyle. I won't tell the whole story. I guess there's not enough time, probably. But I'm from a family that had quite a bit of chaos. I'm from a good family, by the way, Jody. I'm from a very good family with quotes on it. Have you ever heard folks that are really trying to hide their unresolved woundedness? And
Oh, yes.
So let's talk about trauma. And the first phrase is, well, no, I'm from a good family. So that was me for many years. And then, my wake up call came when I lost a daughter. Wasn't really my fault. Although if I was a more conscious person, I might have done something different. She was an infant. And actually, this is the time of year. Oh, man, there's that grief pocket. This is the time of year that she was alive.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's horrific.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it cracked me wide open, just like your intense story that many of your listeners have probably heard many pieces of. We don't want that shit to happen again, but it cracked us open in a way that maybe we're tough cases here, you and me. Maybe that's what it took. And but that didn't completely do it for me. I had to lose the marriage too, and a couple of jobs, and I was medicating heavily with just about every drug you can think of and acting out in any way that you can think of. But when I finally, I make a joke about when she's married to someone else, you can probably you can think you can know the relationship is probably over.
Yeah, that's a good hint.
Yeah, that's what, and it's a joke, but it's not, because I was suicidal when I finally got it. That there was no way I was going to do this push me, pull you thing with her again, which is, a reference to the way love addiction works. Please come close, get the fuck away, come close, get away.
Yes.
Right. So it's an addiction. I had them all. I've had them all. That's the good news. I know a lot about addiction, Jody. That's the good news. I can help some people in this area. The bad news is, well, how'd you get to know so much? Well,
Yeah.
I hit
Yeah.
a wall. I use that stuff, and it works until it doesn't. I'm not against drug
Yes.
use. I'm not against drug use and acting out, and it got me there. Right? It was my medication until it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, and then, as I awakened, I realized I'm from a good family, yes, but what does that have to do with anything? I'm from a family with a lot of chaos, a lot of drinking and acting out, and chaos, and both of my parents had lost dreams that they, tried to live through me, and it's a long
Oh
story.
God.
There's a lot more
Yeah.
enmeshment in my story. One of the things I know, some of your story, Jody, some people who really have this severe abuse story, you only have one advantage, and that it is, where your work is. It's not a mystery, right? For those of us from good families that were severely enmeshed, and a lot
Yeah.
of the trauma was hidden behind having to grow up and take care of a parent, or grow up or infantilized. Have you ever heard that one? Infantilized. I got that
Yes.
one. My mom came into the school and marched down the hallway and straightened those teachers out more. I can't even count the number of times. So I never had any consequences at all. So I went into the world completely thinking I could just do what I wanted to do, until, that proved not very
To
effective.
be wrong.
Yeah, wrong. So there's many forms of trauma, and over the years, fortunately, when I woke up, it was at the beginning of the men's movement, which was, some of your listeners might have heard of Robert Bly and Sam Keen, who wrote Fire in the Belly, and Iron John, and those stories were meant, we all got made fun of, drumming in the woods naked or whatever. We weren't, but, well, we were drumming, and there was we mostly had our clothes on, but that everybody, it brought up shame for a lot of people, especially other men who weren't doing the work, right? So, the women's movement essentially said, we've had enough of this shit. We're done. We're not going to take your shit anymore. The men's movement was an internal movement. It was, holy crap, I have been holding on to this for my whole life, and probably many centuries. Men have been holding on to their emotions and not looking within. And that's what the men's movement was about. We were just a big giant circle of men grieving and wailing and breaking loose some of those years of hardened trauma, generational and personal. And so I was grateful for that. I also started 12-step recovery, which has been sustaining me for many, many years. And there's a 12-step group for every one of the addictions, and I've had many of them. And you got to be in a room. An alcoholic can't help a gambler. They're just not going to get it. You got to be in a room with people that have been hurt or have acted out in the way that you have. It works the same with trauma. It works the same with addictions. So many years, and I'll end here by saying the group that I'm most active in lately, and that I send all of my clients to, is, and this is a good segue back to you, is Adult Children of Dysfunctional Families, ACA, which is a program that is mostly about inner child work. It's a really
Oh, okay.
quality. It's not about addiction, although most people in there had some addiction in their childhood or with themselves. But it is a very powerful program that exists all around the world. And there's a lot of support for doing, because you and I both know there's nothing more powerful than inner child work to heal trauma.
Yeah. I just, as we briefly discussed, I just did some inner child, well, I'm still doing inner child work, but for me, one of the change of perspectives I've had, I think, is because my trauma started so young, there's no pre-trauma. So I'm trying to now, instead of be so fearful of everything, I'm trying to approach things with a sense of curiosity. So like, instead of being, like terrified to start something new, I'm doing like, okay, well, wait a second. What's the worst thing that can happen here? Is it going to drastically affect my life? Like starting the podcast, I had no confidence. And I was like, you know what? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? No one listens and I don't have to tape another podcast, right? Like, and then I was like, is that going to drastically affect my life? Is it going to trigger anything? And, I think I've worked so hard on minimizing my triggers that the only ones that are still huge for me, and I'm working on them, but they still feel like a stuck spot is abandonment and rejection. And that just, it's such a core wound for me because, going through foster care and bouncing around and in, those times of childhood when you're supposed to be, forming bonds and that kind of thing. So those two things still, I've learned how to react to them better. So I'm not lashing out. It just still really bothers me.
Yep. Yep. It's a good way to frame it because, there's different ways to come at healing trauma, right? The most popular way is cognitive, right? Just change your thinking, which is a good idea. If my thinking is saying the world is dangerous and it will reject me, I need to do something with that thinking, right?
Yes.
So let me change it. I'm going to change it to the world is safe and they're going to accept me. All right, I'm going to change my mind about that. I'm going to repeat it over and over and over and over. That's valuable, but there is a. It's almost like if you can imagine that image of an iceberg with the giant glacier size underneath the water, but this little tiny tip at the top. The little tiny tip at the top is our cognition, is our thinking. And our thinking, most of us, we're smart, okay, but our thinking got us in trouble. Our thinking is not always our best friend. So yes, change your mind about it. And the other popular way to go after trauma is change your behavior, right? Just get out there and do it. And your body, and it's good. Your body will change and you'll have a little bit more permission to like not be so afraid after, what is it? Full immersion therapy or something. All right, if you exposure therapy, right? So you just, okay, so now I'm not quite as afraid. Good. I'm saying better things. I'm not quite as afraid. But we're missing the fact that we have a body that is just so full of tight musculature that was saved from all of those thousands of moments where we were hurt and did not get nurtured. We just locked down different places in the body, and there's a lot of results that come from it, which a lot of people have actual physical ailments. My brother has a list of about 70 ailments. He does it as a joke. It's slightly but not really. He's a mess, and he knows it, and he loves to make fun of this work. And I love my brother. We have a blast making fun of each other. So, but his rejection of this work is manifesting in his body. And that happens for all of us. It happens in relationships, failed relationships, jobs, train wrecks, not enough money, whatever your thing is. For me, I don't even really need to have the conversation with anybody anymore. I've landed on it. It's unresolved trauma lodged in the body. And you will not fix it by just changing your mind or praying it away, or just changing your behavior. We have to get down into the body and do the grief work, right? Nobody wants to know that. Nobody wants to feel that pain. We live in a culture, we live in a time, we live in a rhythm where we're all trying to get happy and avoid the pain. And there's so many ways to do it. And we have to practice grief work. We have to come together with other people who are doing it. And what happens when we let the tears come up, we're loosening those tightened places in our body. It's called somatic healing. You just interviewed a couple of people last week that are master somatic facilitators.
I know. It's so cool.
And I've been doing that for 25 years under different names. I run a program called the Deep Waters Experience, which is a 3-day intensive where we spend the first day and a half trying to help people let go of all the shit that they've learned about cognition and behavior and get down into the body, talking with the inner child, which is the best doorway to those feelings, and then doing processes that resemble psychodrama and drama therapy, which also take us deep into ourselves to like loosen. I'll just say it again one more time, ad nauseum, to loosen those pockets of tension that we're holding in our body. And it's called psychodynamic work, dealing with the unconscious motivations that are running our life. Right. So change your mind, change your behavior if you want, but it's much more effective if we change our mind and our behavior as a result of healing that deeper stuff, as opposed to instead of.
Absolutely. That workshop sounds wonderful. I'm newer to the somatic thing to experience, but it's like something I'm so interested in learning, because one of the best books I think I read was The Body Keeps the Score.
Right, Vanderkolk. All right.
Yes. And that was a really good, like, oh, wait a second. That's why I have fibromyalgia. This is why I have like some random autoimmune issue that no one can figure out, like where my leg swells up randomly. And I've been for 100 tests and they all just looked at me. And the last specialist I saw actually said to me, if you ever find out what it is, please let us know.
That's exactly right. It reminds me of, for 10 years, I was a glazer. You don't know what that is. Other people, they think it's glazing donuts, but actually it's a union building trade, putting glass in high-rise buildings.
Okay.
Glazers, like plumbers, electricians, glazers. I did that for 10 years. It was miserable, but it was before the wake-up call. But a lot of times we put glass in a big building, and then on the 43rd floor of an 80-story building, there's a leak. There's a leak in one at the base of one of the lights of glass, right? So, and could you come in and please fix this leak? And okay, you got the budget for this? Because I'll guarantee you the problem is not anywhere near where you're seeing the water.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the same thing with our physical ailments. It takes and sometimes in healing work, trying to figure out the exact root, which of those horrific situations that I went through as a kid is making me do this. That's sometimes we're never going to pull that off, but we can ask questions like this, and this might be useful for you and your listeners, Jody. So what's going on? This is like a series of questions I might use to facilitate someone on the carpet. We call it carpet work. So what's going on? Where is it in your body? Take a breath and feel it. Try to sink down into it. Stay with it. I know you don't want to. Stay with it. Yep. And put your hand on it. And what is that feeling? And then I might say scared or sad. And when's the first time you felt that? Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember my childhood very well. So so just stay there. It's okay. Eventually, the feeling starts bubbling. The feeling comes up. We have a memory of some kind that has been buried in that lodged clump of tension in our body, right? It might not be the exact right one, and it might not even be 100% true. We're not rushing off to the authorities to blame somebody for it. Anyway, we're trying to heal.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So, I remember one time when when my mom said this or that. And and then, we can even do a little psychodrama to put a new set of images in the psyche, but mostly to break loose that hardened place in us. Because here's the promise to me, to you, to anybody that's listening. Grief work is a river. It's like a river. And if you block it, you're also blocking the joy that's coming down through the river too. I don't know if anybody's ever felt that great joy, grief, tears mixture feeling, but I didn't used to be able to feel it. But now it's like, you start talking about my daughter and I'm going to be a big puddle of joy, grief.
Aww.
Either one of my daughters, by the way, the one that's not here anymore and the one that's a superstar. And so, we've got to break loose those lodged places in us if we want to have freedom. It seems pretty logical. I'm not a very logical guy, but that seems pretty logical to me.
Yes, absolutely. And I like, as to the physical thing, aside from like, the autoimmune stuff, like my body is always tense. It doesn't matter. I was like, even if I were to go for a massage, it's like you can't get the tension that's in my neck or the heaviness that's in my stomach. That's all things that I need to work on to release, whatever it is that's still trapped in there.
Yeah. It reminds me of this meme. We see it all the time on Twitter, right? Follow your intuition, trust your intuition, follow your gut, trust your gut. After the 80th time I saw it, I got to thinking to myself, if we have unresolved trauma, it's really hard to hear your intuition or your
Oh
gut.
my God, yes.
Yes, because what you're hearing is those negative messages that are saying, oh, everybody's after me. That's going to be, that's my intuition. That's a bad person. That's somebody that's going to really hurt me right there. I can't really trust my intuition or my gut until I've done some healing work to make it, to have access with my authenticity,
Mhm. I'm a big proponent in learning to tune out my head sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
ignore my heart because it's really a stupid muscle, and then the actual truth for me, if I get a gut feeling and I don't think about it, I just go off that gut instinct, it's usually right. It's when my head comes in, you're right, all those negative patterns, all those voices, they just like repeat, you're not worthy, you're no good, everyone rejected you, and it becomes this cycle that you take your past. And basically, I believe anxiety is, like they're just reaching into the past for similar experiences and then predicting that that's going to again happen in the future in some form or shape. And it's been really essential for me when I can, because I have a very busy mind, to shut it up and just actually listen to what I feel my gut is saying.
Yeah. Well, it takes practice. All this stuff takes
Yes.
practice. We're not going to just read a book. Read Vander Kolk's book. It's a good one, though. So is mine. By the way, you told me to talk about my stuff.
Yes, your book.
Let's see if I can remember my long title. I said I don't want a long title, and then I wound up with this title. Actually, the main part of the title is Stop Doing Shit You Don't Want to Do.
Yeah, I saw that today. I love it.
And then if you really want to look a little further, the subtitle is A Straightforward Guide to Letting Go of Unresolved Trauma. I think most people that first look at the book say, yeah, that's a good idea. I want to stop doing shit I don't want to do, until they see what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Which is healing work. I was going to try to trick people into reading it by just leaving that on the title. But I figured, I better let them know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I looked at your page today and I was like, oh, I love the title. I have to get that book.
Well, yeah, it's and it outlines this 3-part program that I call Recover, Heal, Launch. We have to recover our chemistry, which is about all the addiction stuff, in order to be able to have access to our emotions, which is necessary for healing, right? Recover, heal. And then after, like what you're doing, Jody, you've healed a lot of it. And now you're launching. Here we are at our age, whatever it is, finally launching into the life that's more authentic for us. So that whole idea, recover, heal, launch, and it has to be somewhat in order. We've got to get our chemistry back. We've got to be able to have access to our feelings in order to live that satisfying, authentic life.
Absolutely. Is it available on Amazon? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
It's
I'm going to order
my website, bobbeare.com, Bob Beare with an E, or Dr. Bob Beare. I think it all goes to the same place. But I think I was responding to something you were saying about being afraid of this. I came to this realization a while ago that we say I'm afraid of the future, right? It is impossible to be afraid of the future. We have no idea about the future at all. Zero. You know nothing about it. Now, what we know a lot about is the shit that's happened to us in the past, right? We know a lot about that. And what we're not afraid of the future. We're afraid of the past repeating.
Yes, that makes better sense. Yeah.
And our bodies are braced for it has nothing to do with the future, but it does block our ability to be in this moment because we are carrying old fears that we're refusing to heal. I'll say it that way. We are, through any means possible, I will avoid healing my deeper stuff. And look at us, you and me, Jody. I've made somewhat of a path of a living, I suppose. I'm certainly not going to get wealthy from this path. Although it's getting better, actually. People are pretty hot on this stuff these days a little bit, but certain people. But, I could have chosen Nike shoes or, I don't know, all that stuff my daughter's buying on TikTok. I could have gotten one of those. But no, you and I have chosen a path of inviting people toward the thing they hate the most. It's not a good business model. Why didn't you choose
No, absolutely not, right? Here, come here, something you never want to deal with. Come on, take your mask off.
Yeah, but there's nobody that's I'm going to be doing this. This is all there is to it. I have the gift within me that was handed to me by a circle of really loving, beautiful humans, and now I'm in it. And this is what I'm going to be doing because I don't know why, actually. I don't know how not to do it. How about that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It just feels right, regardless of the fact that I don't make any money off anything, but it just feels like I almost have an obligation with this information. Like, why would I keep it to myself, locked away in my brain when there's so many people struggling out there? And just maybe one thing that I say can help someone's day, and it's just, for me, the little things are so important. It's why I like to do, I'll send out, 10 little check-ins on people that I'm, more concerned about, or people that don't get checked in on as often, and it takes me 5 minutes just to say, you're doing okay. Are you feeling okay? Can I support you in any way? And I think that it's so important to be the starter of the conversation because, it's not a conversation many people want to have. And they definitely don't want to start it.
Not until they hit the wall.
Yes.
Nobody comes dancing into any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, this would be a nice club to join. No.
Yeah.
And you and I did not invent this model, by the way. There was an invention that happened in the 30s, in the last century. I'll say it's an invention, not really, but it changed the course of healing work in a way that maybe nothing, like Dr. Scott Peck said that 12-step recovery was the most impactful movement of the 20th century. And just relevant to what you were just saying, the 3 keys in 12-step recovery, our own sobriety, right? Unity, which is, making sure that we treat each other well so that we can keep this thing going forward. And then the third one is service. And it's, we say in 12-step recovery, you can't keep it if you don't give it away. which is kind of cliche, but it is so true. I mean, every time. And the other thing for, you and I and those of us that are in teaching some of this stuff, every time I do this whole model of what is trauma and how I learn something more about my own story. So we're just reminding ourselves. We're reminding ourselves of this stuff. We sound like we're the experts, right? The main symptom of addiction and the main symptom I'll propose of trauma is that we forget that we have it. we try to ignore the fact that we are addicted to certain things.
Yeah.
And we forget that we are deeply addicted and that we've had a lot of consequences from it. Same thing with trauma. We want to just be like the normal people, whoever they are. Show me one. I'd like to meet one.
Me too.
But, and over time, so we have to keep teaching others. And while we're doing that, we're teaching ourselves and reminding ourselves of our own, of the places that need healing within ourselves, right?
Right, absolutely. And that's one thing, like I don't think I went to a space until about 8 months ago. I had no idea. Then I went in and I was all quiet and I wouldn't speak. Never thought I'd be running a space. But it's me that forming that little community of like-minded people who are all at different stages in their journey. And that to me is fascinating because, I may be equal, behind, ahead, whatever the case may be, but I'm always learning from someone else's story, someone else's journey, meeting them on their path, kind of where they are, and not expecting them to be where I am or where other people are, taking that whole comparison out of it and just building a safe little community where people can come and, openly share how they're feeling or about their trauma or whatever the case may be. And I know your space is the same thing. I was just there last week and I really enjoyed it. I will be there again tonight. And yeah, so I think it's a great space. And the more people that are, informed, trauma informed, that are running these spaces, it's bringing in, a different crowd and maybe people that, I have people in my group that never spoke. And now that they've been there for 6 or 7 times, they're starting to come up to the mic,
Yeah. Yep. I do. And it's a little, it's beautiful in that a lot of folks stumble in there that would never get this information otherwise.
Yes.
Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it is just the current medium, but it's powerful. It is powerful. And I think now that we have learned to navigate it a little bit, this is a great place to get the message out. I'm a 12-step guy, so I like to sneak that in there. For people that are still like half-ass healing because they're still self-medicating, right? I like to give permission for that because it's really hard to stop that stuff on our own. And the same thing with healing trauma. We all tried it, right? We tried to do it all by ourselves. Let me read a book and call that good. But it just doesn't work that way. We got hurt. And I think the Vander Koch or the other guy, can't think. It'll come to me, but we got hurt in we got hurt in connection with other people, right? We have to heal in connection with other people. So this idea that I can heal in isolation is an addiction of sorts in itself.
Oh my God, right?
I want to do it by myself.
Yeah,
if I possibly can. And I will try. Almost all of us have tried that. And you can get a little ways. You can get a little bit of information, which is good. But sorry to tell you, here's the bad news. You're going to have to ask for help. We actually do that on the Deep Waters experience. And by the way, it's deepwatersrecovery.org. Or you could just Google the Deep Waters experience. We do 7 of them a year in Austin, Texas. But we
you're in Texas. Okay.
Yeah, we do a couple of processes. In one process, we have people actually say this phrase: "I need help.
Oh my God. The three hardest words to utter sometimes, right?
Some people say I haven't said those words ever in my life. I was told never to say that. And, it's really hard to get help if I can't ask for it. So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we think being vulnerable is the worst possible thing we could ever be. My dad taught me how to be a tough guy. That was the main teaching from my dad, because that's what he got taught,
Mm-hmm.
So being vulnerable wasn't the first thing on my list of of things to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I hear you. It's only recently, really, that I've, I lived behind this big fortress for so long with a moat and a drawbridge and alligators and crocodiles everywhere, so no one could get near me. And it's only recently that I've like been able to deconstruct that and, put some windows in and put a door in and get rid of the crocodiles so people can actually walk across the bridge without me going, whoa, wait a second, push, pull, get away from me, you're getting too close. Um, because that was like a huge issue for me. I figured the closer you got to me, the worse the pain of abandonment's going to be when you leave. And it wasn't in my head if you leave, it was a when you leave. So I was almost, co-creating this whole scenario over and over and over. And it took me so long to kind of like break that cycle and just decide, you know what? Just put yourself out there. Like what's the worst that's going to happen? I don't have a lot of trolls. I don't really get bullied too much, which is good. Um, people seem to be appreciative of most of the posts that I put out. I try and just, be post quotes that, on days when I'm having a bad day that, I might read and go, oh, I'd like to hear that today, that kind of thing. Just hoping to have like a tiny effect on one person at a time, really.
Yeah, one of the things about the pandemic where everybody's on Zoom, it brought a lot more people online. So there's a lot more people we can reach and connect with. And everything that's great has a downside, right? So now
Yes,
everybody's
yeah,
just sitting around watching Zoom
I
like you
know,
and I are
right?
doing right now. Fortunately, I can see you here and it's not just on the phone. But, I'm a little bit of an advocate for in-person healing also, even though I only see clients on Zoom. But I do this in-person workshop. There's certain kinds of healing we're not going to just do on Zoom. I'm just
Yeah,
telling you,
yeah,
we've got to be able to like get in the same space with each other. And it's the same thing with on the addiction side. There's so many Zoom meetings to get started in recovery, but you almost got to have at least one meeting a week where you're actually in the room with other human beings. Otherwise, we're
yes,
moving to some sort of alien uh, rhythm here where we're
yeah,
just connected digitally. We're just
yes,
all going to sit in a
absolutely.
chair and be connected digitally. I don't know about that one. That's
No, not a big proponent of that. I firmly believe in, people are wired to require people time. You
yep.
need people, whether you isolate or not, you still need people. It's essential. And
It's
I
a good.
think
It's
COVID
it's a
killed
good door.
communication.
Yeah, yeah. We gotta. This is a good doorway, though. I'm not disparaging this rhythm. Are you kidding me? I am having such a blast connecting with so many people. I've had about 10 people come from all over the world to the Deep Waters experience, just through the Twitter connection. Uh,
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
awesome. I know you
Europe.
saw
Oh
Simone
yeah,
Louise. Oh my God.
Europe,
So exciting.
Europe, and Japan, and Singapore, and then
Wow.
several people that have come from different places in the United States to Texas to the workshop. You've met them on our Wednesday space, but yeah, I think it's a good doorway. It's a good place to heal. It's a good place to reach people who would never know about this stuff at all. So I'm grateful. And who'd have thunk it on the twit?
I know, really. That's what I thought too. Like, it just I figured it was just, like Instagram, everyone posting their best life and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, your life is not that great because no one's life is that great. You are wearing a mask. And so many people will wear a mask for their entire life. My father is one of them. He will wear this mask that he's done nothing wrong in his life. Everything's fine. Any problem that I have is because I have a mental illness, not related to any trauma that he caused by, like, I don't know, dangling me out the window when I was 5. Like, and it just, I had to accept that's what he's made peace with.
Yeah.
This is not the truth, but that's what he's made peace with. And I either can accept that or I can get rid of the toxicity and negativity of just carrying around those words and horrible things that were said and done. And when I did that, I was like, I thought, I'm going to feel guilty. It's my last, quote, living family member. The rest of them disowned me after my mom died. And so I was like, I felt almost like I had to maintain a relationship with them. And then all of a sudden I was like, no, I don't need this shit in my life anymore. And when I cut him off, I thought, oh, I'm going to feel so bad. No, I don't feel bad at all. I feel lighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
do know. It's a big topic right there. And we're crazy. Our trauma made us clinically crazy.
Yes.
We want to be connected desperately, and we cannot be connected at all because of our trauma. We desperately want it, and we intensely push it away. So the only way we can release the tension of either of those is to do the thing that's last on our list of what we want to do, which is feel the pain and be around other people that are encouraging us to do that. Now, here's what I'm actually responding to what you said here. So when we start feeling the pain, it's, I've written a lot about this blaming thing. We do a lot of blaming, right? I'm not against blaming. Blaming is part of especially early in recovery. It's normal. It's expected. It should be happening. Here's the son of a bitches that hurt me. God damn it. I'm angry. I love it. Get it out. Pick somebody to play your Uncle Joe or whatever. Uncle Joe's not going to hear it. Doesn't matter. It's getting it out of your body and loosening those pockets of pain, just rattling it loose so that they can be blaming and angry and calling them a narcissist and giving every last label you can do it is what you need to do to get started, to get your energy moving. And that's fine. As long as it doesn't become a lifelong blaming ceremony.
Right.
Because actually all it does is break loose the pain and it rattles loose the places where we need healing. It doesn't do any healing. Blaming keeps us stuck, actually, either blaming ourselves, which is what we used to do. What a piece of shit I am, right? Or what a piece of shit they are. Neither one of those are going to take. However, taking a look at my character defect, taking a look at the ways I might not be behaving very well is not a bad thing to do. Also, taking a look at the way they're not behaving well is a very good thing to do. Both are good. And if it's not bad to do a little bit of taking a look at reality, right? Mm-hmm. But eventually we've got to get down into that deeper pain. And once we do that and we start coughing up those old hairballs and getting them up out of our body, and we start to see more clearly, and then we can see mom, dad, spouse, job, our obsession with money or lack or ignoring our money or whatever it is that we're doing, we can see it with much more clarity, and we can make decisions that are healthy for us.
Yes.
Which you just did with your dad. Right now, that's what you need to do. Take care of yourself. And you did not have the ability to do that before.
Yeah, absolutely. And, carrying guilt and shame that came with all of that too for so long. And then finally realizing, like all these things that I feel shameful about, that's not my shame to carry. It really isn't. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just a kid. What could I possibly have done wrong? And when I realized that and then actually let it sink in, another big, like, light bulb moment, like, holy shit, this is like it's releasing so much.
Yeah, shame is the result of trauma.
Yeah.
There's little moment. It's a little bit of semantics. Sometimes we have some guilt or something about behaviors that we've done, but for the most part, this blanket of goo that we wear about who we are is shame that was handed to us.
Yes.
We do another thing at
Yes.
the Deep Waters experience where everyone just says these words out loud, which are very powerful and healing. And if somebody's listening to this in their car, nobody's around, you can say these words. It goes like this: it's not my shame. It's not my shame. Very powerful. You just said those words, by the way, just as a regular in your regular conversation. It is. Those are some extremely healing words. It's not
Yes.
my shame.
Mm-hmm.
And we drag this shit around for a lifetime until we start coughing up that stuff and getting it out of our bodies and living our life, right? According to the way there's a, we call it a selfish program. People around us will think will call us selfish. And I like to respond to it with, well, thank you very much. It's taken me a long time to get here.
Yeah, I'm done people pleasing. It's time to take care of me.
Oh, no, I meant you're self-centered. Oh, thank you very much. It's where would you have me be centered?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yep. So that's some of the reason we don't do the healing work, because we know there's going to be certain people who aren't going to like it. So
lost a lot of people on the healing journey, but I figured I'm a big believer in people are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. One of my favorite poems, and it just it speaks so well to not everybody's meant to be in your life forever, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be a thing of like shame or rejection or abandonment. It's just that basically whatever purpose that they had in your life is kind of been served, and vice versa. And you have to let go of people at certain points in time, and again, that's okay to do. You don't have to keep toxic people around you anymore. You have that choice. You have the option to be able to do all that. And it's been cathartically healing for me, being able to let people go without a sense of guilt or shame or like I'm in the wrong.
It takes all this stuff takes practice.
Yes.
And that's why I'm an advocate for getting in a therapy group with a good facilitator, meaning someone who has done their own work. I don't care if they're licensed or not, but if they're doing their own work and have had some guidance from someone who knows how to keep their energy within their own body, as opposed to trying to fix other people for their own benefit. That's a very different thing. There's a problem in my profession. And you got to find one trick that I ask people, like, okay, I need a therapist. I'm in bumfuck Egypt somewhere, right? I need a therapist. All right, well, go to Psychology Today and search your insurance and the word somatic. Anybody that has somatic in their profile has done some inner work, or they would not have that. They didn't just read about it. They've done some of the work, almost guaranteed. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be the perfect therapist, but it's a good search word to head that way. The other thing is addiction. Anybody that has addiction on the list, a good thing to ask your therapist is, have you done any 12-step work? Have you done any inner searching of your own art? These are good questions. That's the main criteria for a good healer, is, are they doing their own inner work? And it's somewhat rare, because a lot of my colleagues are in this work to fix other people so we feel better about ourselves.
Yeah.
Enneagram 2. But that's another podcast, the Enneagram personality test. Very powerful stuff. But anyway, Jody, I think I've got to move on to another recording that I'm doing here.
Oh, awesome.
You're a busy man. You think we've solved the world's problems here?
I think we have for today. I'll definitely have to have you back on, though, because you got a lot of information, and you're fun to talk with. You got a great sense of humor, so I love that.
Well, this was fun. I hope we get to do it again.
Yeah, for
And,
sure. Thank you so much for your time. And I will see you tonight in your space at 6 o'clock.
Very cool. All right.
Okay,
Take
thank
care,
you so
Jody.
much.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a like and don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And if you appreciate the work I do, why not buy me a coffee? Details in the show notes. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Dorian Kent and produced by Jody Betty and Dorian Kent. This has been a Raw and Open production.